Welcome to the show, Brock Page here, and may you slash your bookie's throat till they die a slow, painful death this week. San Fran's at the Eagles for a 1 o'clock kickoff at Lincoln Financial Field. Totally just kidding about the bookie joke, actually a really nice guy. But anyway, the Birds opened up giving up 11 against the spread with the total at 47.5. Since the betting opened up, most of that early money's come pouring in on the Birds to get the job done. Currently, Phillies minus 12.5 against the spread with the total moving downward to 45.5. Currently, the Eagles are the 8-1 money line favorites. And at the moment, just 35% of the public money's on San Fran, so look for them to be catching a few more points by kickoff. Honestly, if you like the Niners plus the points, I recommend you pay very close attention to the lines in the next couple days. You could see the Niners catching as high as 14 points at any given point in the week. Your interest in the Niners plus the points is certainly warranted. These guys have gone 4-3 covering overall and 4-3 against the spread catching points. That said, the Niners failed to cover 2 of their last 3, and they're still looking to pick up that first straight-up victory on the season. Tough task ahead of them. They've got an Eagles opponent who's been a great covering team on the year. So far, the Birds against the spread, 5-2 overall, 3-1 laying the points. In addition to covering 2 of 3 at Lincoln Financial, Philly's also 2-1 as the official home favorite. They've covered their last 4 consecutive. That certainly is a hefty amount of points to give up in this spot here, but the Birds have given me no reason to believe they can't do it. Now, total-wise, we've seen a good amount of points scored in both teams' games. Niner games are 3-0 to the overs in their last 3. They're giving up an egregious 31 points a game in those contests. Meanwhile, on the other side, same song and dance as Philly games are 3-1 to the overs in their previous for themselves. The Birds are also averaging 32 points per contest in their last 3. I like a lot of scoring in this one, and hell, the Eagles could put this one over their damn selves. All right, all told, I like Philly laying the points. I'm going to forego a play on the money line, but I will buy the hook and take Philly minus 12. And although I agree with the betting public on the spread, I'm in full disagreement with them when it comes to the total. Give me the over 45.5 in this one. Next game, Indies at Cincy for a 1 o'clock Eastern start at Paul Brown. The betting opened up with Cincy laying 10, now 10.5. Total open 41, now 40.5. Currently, Cincy's 550 to win this one outright. And at the moment, just about 50% of the betting public has action on Indy, so don't look for that line to move anytime soon. I'm not going to lie, though, this one's a pretty tough one to pick if you're betting sides. Cincy against the spread is just 3-3 overall, 1-2 at Paul Brown, 2-2 laying the points. Cincy's also a lackluster 1-2 covering as the official home favorite. Disparaging records aside, the Cincinnati team has covered 3 of their last 4, 2 of which they were laying the points. That said, Cincy has not been setting the world on fire when it comes to the number. And speaking of the number, Indy hasn't been all that good covering the spread themselves. Indy against the points are just 3-4 overall, 2-4 catching points, and a winless 0-3 covering on the road. On a lighter note, this Indy team has gone a fairly impressive 3-1 covering against team with losing records. All said and done, however, this one's going to be a real tough one to pick when it comes to the point spread. Now, scoring-wise, we might have a little bit something there to work with when it comes to the trends. Indy games have actually seen a real good amount of scoring. Indy games are 3-0 to the overs before last week's action. The Colts are finding themselves giving up a rotund 33 points per game. They're going up against a Cincy team who's 2-2 to the overs in their last 4 themselves. The Bengals averaged 25 points per game in their previous 3 before last week's loss at Pittsburgh. All told, the case for the over can actually be made. And that's actually going to serve as my only action for this game. I'm foregoing a play on the spread and a money line outright winner. I am, however, going to disagree with the betting public on the total as I'm leaning toward the over 40.5 in this one. Next game, Atlanta at the New York Jets, 1 o'clock kickoff at MetLife Stadium. Atlanta opened up the 7-point favorites and the total at an even 47. Since the betting opened up, however, we've seen a ton of the early action come pouring in on the Jets to cover and the under. Currently, Atlanta's laying just 5.5 against the spread with the total moving downward to an even 46. And at the moment, Atlanta's 240 to win this one outright. I can't imagine Atlanta's going to be laying any less than 4.5 here. At the very least, I can see them getting down to -4, depending on where you're shopping. But overall, I think we're going to see ourselves a closing number of 5-6 in this one. And if you're betting sides in this one, you might want to wait it out and catch a few more points with this Jets team. They've been a great covering team thus far on the year. The Jets against the spread are an impressive 5-2 overall, 4-2 catching points, and a perfect 3-0 covering at MetLife Stadium. Even more impressive, the Jets are 3-0 covering as the home underdog and 3-0 covering in games at the current posted total. They're going up against a somewhat slumping Atlanta team who's been equally lackluster covering the spread. Atlanta's covered just 2 of 6 overall and just 1 of 2 when traveling. The Falcons against the spread are also just 2-3 laying the points and failed to cover in their last 3 straight. Do I think the Falcons are a better team? Why, yes, I do. Do I think they can cover here? I'm really not sure. But what I am sure of is that this Atlanta team is 0-3 to the overs in their last 3. They're averaging just 13 points per contest in those 3. Similar story on the other side as Jets games are just 1-2 to the overs in their last 3 themselves. The Jets averaged just 17 points of scoring in those 2 unders as well. All in all, I think the case for the public money can certainly be made, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. All told, I'm buying the hook and taking the Jets +6 and Atlanta winning it outright with the under 46 in this one. Next and final game for the show, Carolina at Tampa Bay. Divisional matchup could get ugly. Tampa Bay opened up laying 2 against the spread with the total at an even 44. Since the betting opened up, we've seen a good amount of that early money come in on Tampa to get the job done. Currently, the Bucs are -2.5 against the spread with the total moving upward to 45.5. Currently, Tampa's $1.30 to win it outright. And at the moment, 55% of the public money's on the Panthers. So we'll probably see a closing number of around 2 to 3 points by kickoff. If you've been taking the Bucs against the number this year, you're probably broke. If Tampa Bay against the spread is just 1-5 overall and just 1-2 at Raymond James, the Bucs against the number is also 1-2 laying the points and 0-2 in games at the current posted total. Tampa's currently on a 5-game losing streak when it comes to covering the points. They're going up against a Carolina team who's been a pretty good covering team in their own right. The Panthers against the spread, 3-1 when traveling, 2-0 catching points, and 1-0 in games at the current total. In addition to going 2-0 covering as the official road underdog, Carolina's garnered themselves some marquee covers over the likes of Detroit and New England. All told, the case for Carolina bettors can certainly be made. Now, scoring-wise, we've seen a bunch of it when it comes to these Tampa matchups. Bucs games are 3-1 to the overs in their last 4. They average 28 points of scoring in those overs. Even better for over bettors, Tampa gave up 30 points per game in those overs as well. Similar story on the Carolina side as Panther games went 3-0 to the overs before last week's action themselves. They averaged 28 points per game in those contests while giving up 27. Total-wise, I've got to be in full agreement with the bettors. I think this one gets over the 45.5. I also like the Panthers on the road catching points. I'm going to buy the hook and take Carolina +3 and winning this one outright for some money line cash. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me. But before I get out of here, I have to remind you that I am not a sports betting expert, nor do I implore you to take any of my picks. A wise man once said, good ain't free, and free ain't good. If for some reason you decide to use the free information on this program, you're utilizing it at your own discretion. Most importantly, if you're betting any of these games, do it safe, do it responsibly, and most important, have fun. For Brock Page Productions, I'm Brock Page, and have yourself a positive day.